Our journey of becoming was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Each week I was struck with how little I know about racism and of how unaware I am of my own prejudices. And this was surprising to me and overwhelming in seeing all that needs to be done. And upon thinking about this presentation, initially I was going to talk about the video of runners portraying the white male domination of power in the game of life, which has succeeded in generations of oppression for just about everyone but the male, white male. The implications of that short video are enormous and overwhelming, and I did further research and I watched a few more videos because I just kept thinking, this is too much. There's just too much. It's been going on too long, and how do we begin to effect change? And I watched a video that really struck me because there was a quote by a man by the name of John Gardner, and it was his response to change in racial bias. And what he said was, the first step is not action, but understanding. And that phrase led me to think about my part in this and implicit bias and explicit bias. And I thought, this is more manageable for me. This is where I can start, not just with my own, but in helping others to acknowledge their own. I have always believed that the first step in tackling any problem is to first acknowledge that it does exist and then identify my part so that I can work on doing what I can. Identifying explicit bias is fairly easy because it is expressed directly, whether through institutional processes or on an individual basis. Explicit biases are things like racial slurs, outright disgust, segregation through redlining, conscious stereotyping. Explicit bias has been greatly reduced due to social awareness and also to laws preventing outright prejudiced practices. However, the oppression has continued for generations. And explicit bias can result from decisions made with the influence of implicit bias. On the industrial level, things have happened, and there have been situations in housing where all things are equal with two individuals. Income, education, credit score, all of it being the same. However, the pricing and the selection differ according to your skin color. Implicit bias is a little bit trickier. It is many times undetectable unless you are looking for it, almost invisible. This is where our own understanding of our own thoughts come in. We have to become aware of our own implicit biases. We often harbor negative stereotypes about others without realizing consciously, without thinking about it out loud. Implicit biases are deep-seated below conscious level and are often counter to our expressed bias. They are deep in our brain and things that we have learned over the years of our life. There was a study done about physicians and pain meds for in-hospital patients. Turns out doctors prescribed pain medication much more often for white men than for black men. Why? I suppose it could be for many reasons, but one of the reasons that I thought perhaps could have been behind this is the incorrect notion or this thought that we have, that we white people have, that there are more black men than white men who use drugs. I think the real eye-opener for me from this class that we did is that what I have been doing is not enough, and what I have learned is not enough. Social justice theology dictates that I do more, that I learn more, that I see more. Only living in a small community with little diversification can no longer be a reason for doing nothing. It is time for change. It is time for me to change.